the new head football coach of the Pearl River Central Blue Devils, and this is Jacob Webb coming to Pearl River Central by Jackson Academy over in Jackson, Alabama. Coach, congratulations and welcome to the show.
Man, I appreciate it. I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Coach, let's start with what attracted you to the Pearl River Central opportunity and kind of what that process was like to get the head football coaching job there.
Well, I was coached by two head coaches in high school from Mississippi, and they always talked about how tough the kids were over there. And, so I was in the back of my mind. I thought, man, it might be fun to coach where they came from. But, didn't know a whole lot of Pearl River Central. Did a little research on them. Know they've been down a little bit. I think a lot of coaches like a challenge, and I know it'll be just that. But also know they've had some success over there too. When you look at things, you kind of check out the area. Seems like a nice area to live. Went over there and met with some people, and they're just phenomenal people, and just kind of felt right. So when they offered, we took it.
Coach, when you look at where you're coming from, will you tell our listeners, particularly in Pearl River County, but in South Mississippi, what football is like over at Jackson Academy, that area of your state, and kind of what listeners can expect from you?
Well, our school's on Highway 43 in Alabama, and it's got some really good schools, a lot of football tradition. Every school on 43 right in this area pretty much has won championships. A lot of good talent over here in this area. Public and private, a lot of really good football. I expect it to be very similar. It's in the South. Football's king. Everybody's fanatical about it. And that's good. We're going to play clean, hard-nosed football. Can't tell you what we're going to do offensively, defensively. I think you got to check the kids out, kind of see what we can do. But we're going to be physical. We're going to be in good shape. We're going to be sound. And at the end of the day, we're going to have good men. So they go and be good husbands and fathers.
Coach, when I look at your record in the past few years there at Jackson Academy, one of the things that really stands out is your region record. Can you kind of speak to our listeners on your past record, those wins and losses, and particularly, man, that's some strong region play that I was able to see there.
Well, we had a good group of kids come through, really bought in. These kids now, they were starting as 8th and 9th graders on a varsity team because, they wanted it. They bought in, worked their tails off, and, that year, maybe not as good as they want to. We made it to the playoffs, went and played, who everybody thought was going to be the state champion that year in the first round. Everybody's telling us, y'all going to get beat by 30 or 40. Well, we led the game up until 4 seconds left. With a very young football team, and those kids, when I tell you they that fired them up, they got ready to work for the next year. They were unbelievable in the weight room all season. Even doing extra, preparing themselves. They got a little taste of what it was like to play with the big dogs, and they knew they could play with them. And kind of the next 3 years is history a little bit, just kind of what the kids are doing. Every coach is only as good as his kids. I do think coaches make positive impacts and they make a difference in the program, but you got to have kids that are willing to buy in. And these kids, when I tell you, they worked their tails off and they were hungry and they just got after it. So the next few years had a really good run based off a bunch of young kids that almost pulled off, maybe the upset of the year that year up until, and they did up until 4 seconds left. They scored, and right there at the end on us. But, they gave them a lot of confidence going in the next couple of years. And like I say, kids got to work hard. Anything worth doing, you got to work hard for. And they did it. And, had a really good run the last 3 years. I don't think we lost a region game. We lost one regular season game in the last 3 years, and that was against a team with a higher classification. We wish we would have had that game back. And the other few losses within playoff state championship game, and obviously those didn't go the way we wanted it to. But the kids got there. If you told them that in 8th and 9th grade, about halfway through the year, they probably wouldn't believe they'd have gotten in that situation, but they definitely did. And the program's strong over here, and a lot of really good players coming back over here next year. So, be rooting for them, hope for a lot of success for them. And, they're still hungry. They worked out really good yesterday, even after I told them of the news. So, they're hungry, and if you do things the right way, and do everything you're supposed to do, you're going to have success in everything you do. And these kids know that, and they're still working. And the kids just got to put in the time. I mean, it's not about the coach. The coach can only do so much. They gotta want to work, and those kids have done that, and they're going to continue to work. And don't be surprised if they're not making a run at it again next year.
Coach Webb, in your answer there, you mentioned the classification. Can you kind of give our listeners what size school that is, and then moving over to a fast-growing 6A program on the public side in Mississippi, and some of the ways that may be different? And you mentioned a challenge, some ways that may challenge you, or something that you may be looking forward to in that.
Yeah, so we're a 1A now. We have been a 2A. Could possibly go back up to 2A. School's growing. It could be a 3A before long. Also, I was a head coach of the public school too. We were 1A. It's going to be different in the amount of players you have, but you're also going to have more coaches. I believe football is football. If you're sound in what you do, you're going to be fine. But, it's going to be different. You're going to have more kids. I think we dressed like 30 this year. I'm hoping we get 60, 70, 80, whatever we can possibly get out over there. But, having more assistants, that's going to help out, and I might be able to delegate some things that, I haven't been able to delegate in the past. But I know they got some really good guys on staff over there. Hopefully we can get some more guys in to help. But, we like the challenge. I know, looking back, Pearl River's grown over the years, and hopefully it continues to grow. But, that everybody wants to take a shot at a bigger job, and this is our opportunity, and we're going to make the most out of it. But we're not scared of it. We're going to get after it because I say kids are the same pretty much everywhere. They want you to love them, come in, coach them tough, and be consistent with them. That's what we're going to do. But it's going to be a step up. But we've had a lot of success here. When you have a lot of success, you feel like you're ready for the next thing. So that's where we're at now.
Coach, you kind of cut me off at the pass, which some coaches will do to a guy like me on asking scheme type questions earlier with one of your answers. But any type of scheme that I know you mentioned seeing what the personnel is going to give you, but any kind of schemes you lean towards offensively, defensively?
Well, we're going to make sure we can run the football. I don't care where you are. You got to be able to run the football. So we're going to make sure we can do that in whatever way we can do that. If it's spread, wing tee, doesn't matter, I formation. All that really doesn't matter to me as long as, we're doing what we need to do to be successful. But, I like running the football. That don't mean we're going to run it 95% of the time, but I believe every team's got to run the football. Even the late, great Mike Leach would hand it off every now and then. So
that's right.
You got to make sure you can be sound up front, both sides of the ball. I think that's where the games are won. But you got to be, you got to be able to air it out and get your athletes in space too. But like I say, I've watched a little film until I get over there and start meeting some of them next week and on into spring ball. We'll come up with a plan for that. But we're really open for anything. I've had to run a little bit of different stuff, pretty much every year wherever I've been. And I think that's a good thing because, I'm open to one thing. I'm not setting my ways to say, no, this is exactly what we're going to do and this is how we're going to do it because you don't have the same guys every year. So, the biggest thing is we're going to run the football. We're going to be physical up front and be sound and, all that other stuff's going to take care of itself.
Coach Webb, I know that you're a USA guy, South Alabama
yes, sir.
Guy. Is there any particular college program or pro that, a particular coach or two that you kind of study and not, I think we all kind of mimic folks out in front of us, but any particular coach or two that you look up to and try to pattern yourself after?
Well, I think I just want to be me is the biggest thing. I think everybody's got to be yourself. But, yeah, there's obviously stuff you try to take, from people. I mean, there's Nick Saban. Everybody wants to be like Nick Saban, most successful college coach of all time. But, I mean, you got to be yourself wherever you go. I mean, you take and you learn from everybody. And, if you're smart enough to do that, you'll be a better coach every year. But, obviously everybody wants to be Saban, but not everybody can bring in 5 stars at wheels,
right.
So that helps out. But, no, I mean, I study a little bit of air raid stuff and a little bit of wing tee stuff. I mean, you try to get, what you can from everybody, but At the end of the day, you got to be yourself, as far as your attitude and how you go about doing things. But, you're kind of foolish if you think you can do it all on your own and you can't learn from other people. So, yeah, I try to pull from other coaches. And honestly, I try to get stuff from other high school coaches more so than college or pro necessarily, because, there's guys that's done at this level. And, you can't always do, because you don't have the 4 and 5 stars all the time. You got to be a little bit more flexible, a little bit more creative in some ways, because I saw something the other day, college and pro coaches talking about, stuff comes up from high school sometimes. They'll find some things that high schools are doing and have some success. So you just got to be open to learn from everybody and just be yourself and get what you can from people and try to be the best coach you can possibly be.
Coach, I got one more question. I know your time's tight. I thank you again for spending some time with us. You're coming out of Alabama. We know what the reputation for Alabama high school football is over this way. Would you kind of tell our listeners how the state of Mississippi is viewed and how Alabama folks kind of think of our state over this side of the border and the way that we compete year in and year out in high school football?
Oh, yeah, man. I think there's a lot of respect on both sides, honestly. I think there's a lot of similarities. I mean, it's a bunch of, kids from the South that work hard, a lot of country boys, and they're out in the heat working themselves to death in the summers getting ready. And, you just look at the number of kids that go on to the college level or NFL level from both states, and not be as populated as most states in the country. It's crazy, but very respected. I mean, I grew up pretty much on the Mississippi line, so I got a little feel for, how it's been going. I was coached by 2 guys from Mississippi. Grew up watching some Wayne County games. I know y'all know a little bit about them. So, I'm excited about it because I think there's going to be a lot of similarities, and I'm excited to learn some differences. But I think it's a lot of respect on both sides. I think it's great high school football in both states.
Coach Webb, man, thank you again. And once again, welcome to you and your family to Pearl River County.
Well, I appreciate it. We're very, very excited to get going. Go Devils.
Thank you, Coach.